Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Man United agenda. And it is Friday night. And obviously, you know what's happened? Manchester United have signed our first player. So, guys, there's miracles out there. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Man United agenda. And yes, I am solo, and I'm joined with OMONDI, Pat, and Phil. Welcome back, sir. How are we all doing?
Oh, good, lads. Thank you.
You are
good, man. Good.
You know what it is?
Yeah,
I've not been on
I'm
here.
glad. I'm glad it's Friday. I'm glad
You're always
Phil's
glad
here
it's
as well.
Friday.
Yeah, no, a long week. It's a long week. I'm glad Phil's here as well because we're struggling. We want some real scoops about what's really going on behind the scenes, and he's the best man to bring it. Yeah, it's been a good week for the Man United agenda, and we top it off with some really good news this week as well. So about that signing.
And as I was going to say, guys, it feels strange. I'm sitting here right now playing around with buttons. I forgot what to do. On Monday, Mr. B and TalkMU and obviously Pat and Rebel have always been in the hot seat this week. I've been away, but I'm away, do the show, and then away again. So, guys, literally, you guys been absolutely been flying and doing fantastic this week. So, congratulations as well.
Thank you. It's got nothing to do with your absence. Our success has nothing to do with your absence, as we're going to find out tonight. It's going to be a brilliant show, I'm sure.
Brilliant. And as we said, Phil, welcome back. Phil's the man with the scoop. Phil, we have actually officially got a sign-in underneath our belt at the moment. First sign-in. I will not pronounce his name because I do not want to roadkill it. So I'm going to pronounce it as Tyrell. Yeah?
Yes.
Am I right in that on Monday? Because I know you're looking all, I will not.
Malacia.
I weren't too far off. First sign-in. This sign-in obviously came out of nowhere to begin with. Obviously, the rumors Olympia Lyon basically went in for him. There was some sort of agreement in place, and then Man United went in and hijacked the deal. Now, this seems like the deal it moved very, very quickly in from last week to this week, where now officially we've actually got the player, but the only thing with him now is to sign his contract. So let's start off with Phil. Phil, let's kickstart with you, sir. Welcome back to the channel. Obviously, it seems like it moved in pace. There was reports I'm reading saying part of the reason this deal could have been done quicker. The only problem with it was he wanted someone from his family to read the agreements, the contract that Manchester United will be offering him rather than his actual agent.
Yeah, so he had Ali Dursun involved, with who ended up working with his father to get this deal done, which was part of the hold-up. I actually think it was really smart from United because they let somebody else go and negotiate the price, and then nipped in and said, "Okay, if you're willing to accept 13 million for him, we'll give you, or 17 million, we'll give you that too." Usually, when it's left just the United to negotiate the price, it's about 10 million more. So I think I was smart. I think, look, that's the most encouraging thing for me is United will have obviously been working on players they've been scouting for months, years. This is not their player, this is Ten Hag's player. And if you listen to what Ranić was saying, one of United's biggest problems is basically a mishmash of players that were bought for different systems, for different managers, and they never really got the players that they wanted. This doesn't have to take 3 years, doesn't have to take 6, 7 windows if you do it right. And I think when you look at all the players that United are looking at, these are all Ten Hag players. These are players that have a relationship with the manager. These are players who know exactly what to expect with him. These are players that aren't going to get disillusioned halfway through a season because they have an issue with the manager. And I mean, United's problems are obviously multi-dimensional. There's other problems going on at the football club outside of a manager, and I think when you go back to Ranić coming in, one of the issues that the players had was Ranić coming in, calling them out in public, when they felt a lot of the problems that were existing were not just exclusive to them, were also a relationship issue and a trust issue with the club not keeping promises. So they felt, how dare this guy go in the media and start laying into us when the problem isn't just us, the problem is also our relationship with the club. Why don't you say what's going on with the club? Why don't you say the promises were broken to us that made it? Because I know I've spoken to people, representatives of people, and they'll tell you that a large part of why United players were completely disillusioned towards the end of the season because they felt that promises were broken consistently and the relationship with the club was broken, but then they felt it was unfair what Rania came out and did because there wasn't enough context given to the problem. So I think with Ten Hag, they don't have that ability. I think with Ten Hag, United are also, because they don't have the resources anymore to behave the way they once did, will have to run this as a football club and give complete authority, at least the ultimate authority of the manager.
Wow. Phil, if you don't mind me asking, I was watching the transfer saga unroll. Well, sorry, basically unveil. I really thought this chap was going to Lyon. And then all of a sudden, it just came in, Manchester United hijacked. Did something happen there between Lyon and the player himself? Or did Man United come in and use a bit of muscle? Or what happened?
Well, I mean, I don't know anything about the Lyon end, but clearly a large part of United's budget is going to be going towards De Jong. And I think that they're obviously working on multiple deals at once. They have an idea of what they're going to pay for De Jong. And I think they've been looking at this Malacia deal for a bit. And once Lyon agreed a fee, then United nipped in and done what they were supposed to do. So it's not something that United just decided on a whim that, oh, let's go for him. This is something that Ten Hag will have spoken to United about. Look, they're being really, really, they're adhering to a very strict process when it comes to signing players. I know fans want players, and I want them too. But United should absolutely not pay attention to the incessant requests of fans, because in the past, lads, United have done gimmicky things, and there's a difference between happiness and pleasure. When you chase happiness or you chase pleasure, a new signing gives you pleasure, a new manager gives you pleasure, but sustained happiness will come from adhering to principles, getting a successful football team week in, week out, so that you're not relying on gimmicks to change the mood inside the football club. You're not relying, because those are sugar highs and they wear off very quickly. So I think for United, they're being really sensible about not bringing in a player because it changes the mood, it changes the narrative, it changes fans' attitudes towards the football club. That's all the wrong reasons. They're bringing in sensible signings and saying, look, everyone's happy over the summer when we brought in signings to appease fans. But by the fourth week of the season, fans are ready to protest because the team isn't playing well. If you want sustained happiness, you have to do this sensibly. And I think that's what they're doing this summer.
Yeah. Going to our Monday now. Obviously, Phil just touched on, obviously, with Man United, we've started this channel when I think the club is in quite a lot of turmoil, still in quite a lot of turmoil. And a lot of the sign, like the Ronaldo signing I looked at, was sort of a people pleaser, sort of like to appease the fans. Now, like what Phil's saying with that, it's almost like the signings, what we're doing now is actually Ten Hag signing. It's not sort of like the Ed Woodward of the world deciding commercially, let's go sign this player. It's almost like Ten Hag want this player, so let's go and sign the player. So with that in mind, is that something now we as fans, rather than Man United consistently looking at players and overpaying for the value of the player rather than being sensible with the money we have so we can utilize the budget somewhere else?
The main thing for us is the football, what's on the football pitch. That's the main thing. We need to make a football team that the fans get behind and we enjoy. So if you're buying in marquee signings all the time, big names, and they don't fit in, there's a problem there. As Phil was saying, you need to buy players that fit the system. Ten Hag is the head coach. He's the man in charge. And we had to be in our face and go through suffering for this to actually happen. If we would have got fourth place or something, everyone would say, all right, we can improve, and kept with the same old philosophy that wasn't working for us. So a signing like Tyrell, Malacia is perfect because not only is he cheap, but he's probably not on our radar. A lot of us didn't know about him, to be honest. but he's a young, hungry player from the Dutch league, a region that's known by Ten Hag. There's quotes from him saying, "Oh my God, this player is amazing," playing against him. And as Pat was saying the other day, when he came up against Feyenoord in the league early in the season, he was had Anthony in his pocket, chomping him, not giving him no time or space. So I think it's a great signing for us because it's cheap. It's a hungry young player, a player on the up. And obviously, Lyon were thinking, "Oh, we got rubbing our hands here. We can get someone here." But unfortunately, he got to the final, so he had a bit of a showcase thing where people saying, "Oh, who's this guy?" You know, because a lot of this time, once they're shown around Europe, this is when people say, "Oh, who is this guy? Who is this guy?" But they got to the final of the not the Europa League, the Conference League. And it was all about him. It was about big player cam, and as people got to see what this player is really about. Now, when I've watched him as a defender, I think he's brilliant. I think when you see him in the final back four, they're compact. He stays close to his defenders. They keep nice compact, and then he gets out to his wide man and doesn't give them no time to turn or anything like that. Gets them touch tight, and he enjoys the challenge. You're a good winger, are you? Come, bring it on. I'll show you down the line, and I'll run with you. You want to try a little trick? Clap, take that, you know? And it's the mentality that I like about him. And when you see people raving about him, people like Dutch journalists and Ten Hag and that kind of thing, we know we're on for a good thing here. So I wish the boy all the best. I think with that attitude and that sort of athletic ability he's got as well, we're on for a winner here. And hopefully we'll turn up the heat on Luke Shaw and Tellez or whoever's there right out for a place.
Anything from that, Phil? I was going to go through something, but go on.
Do you know the most important thing about this isn't what we think, it's what Ten Hag thinks. And this is what he wants. We could turn around and say he's the worst left back in the league, worst left back we've ever seen. It doesn't matter. It matters that what the manager wants, right? And he is obviously a player that the manager wants. I mean, fans will have different opinions on players, good, bad, or different. And I think like Steve McLaren's really smart appointment for a couple of reasons, because one of the problems with the Dutch league, Portuguese league, and everything, it can be hit or miss. You can sign up a young player from Holland and they just don't work. And it's happened, and some players do, some players don't. And you need someone with experience in both leagues to know what players are ready, what players aren't. There's no exact science, you can still feel, but I think the more you know, the better. I think there's also a really smart move here from Ten Hag in that he has a conduit to Ferguson. And this is really important because if you're going to be manager of Manchester United, you need to keep Alex Ferguson on your side. Not just because for the obvious reasons, but also because he's quite influential internally with staff. And so I think that's really smart from Ten Hag to have a conduit to Ferguson and to also have someone who knows the club, knows the league. So what was most important in all of this is that this is what Ten Hag wants. I mean, if you look at the players that he wants, if you ask United fans to drop a wish list of what players they want to sign, there's some maybe, I don't know if Lisandro Martinez would make it. I don't know if Malacia would make it. I don't know if Eriksen would make it. If you have a perfect wish list in the real world, those are very, very good signings. All of them improve United. 3 of them are down the middle of the team. So I think if United finished up with someone with Jong, a winger, say Anthony or someone like that, Malacia, Lisandro Martinez and Eriksen, that would be a fantastic window.
Yeah. I think, to be honest with you as well, with going back to Tyrell, he's from sort of like started from the under 16 to the under 21s to break into the senior team as well. And for me, as he said there as well, with the appointment of what's his name, Steve McLaren, it is clever because Steve McLaren is very similar to Roy Hodgson, where he traveled around different leagues, so he will know. Don't believe United scouting has been great over the last few years, but having McLaren there, it's almost like he's doing his own scouting as well. So bringing him in, he can also identify young and upcoming players, which we probably don't know nothing about as well. And then that will help us. Go on, OMONDI.
And he can speak Dutch to them. Pigeon, we call it Pigeon Dutch. Pigeon Dutch in his style. So sorry to jump in.
Go on, can we have a little go then? Go on.
I've seen it done. You put me on the spot now, but it's like, I can't do that shit.
Yeah, best Steve, best Steve McLaren, is it?
I can't do it, but that was hilarious. But I forget that Steve McLaren, as a coach, we've already seen highlights of them coaching and everything else, but you can see the enthusiasm. And I was watching him the other day. I saw a little clip of him coaching, and you can see he was like really getting into it. So come on, lads, and 3, 2, 1.
Getting me excited now, lads.
Yeah,
Did you see the one? Did you see the bit?
I said you're getting old, Steve. I can see you. This is 20 years on from when you were really smashing it with a 99 and when you were with us before. But you still got enthusiasm there, and I love to see that.
I think one of the clip that really got me, and it sort of gave me a bit of goosebump, is when I saw him with the whistle in his hand and he's standing around behind a goalpost, and I think it was Rashford, and then it just came out of nowhere, whistle in his mouth, blow the whistle, and it was Rashford, and it was like, like, what are you doing? But it's the enthusiastic. That's what we need. And this is the issue, is when you look at the old regime at Manchester United to what you're looking at now with Ten Hag on the training pitch, and you got Steve McLaren on the training pitch, it gives us confidence. We're not going to say we're going to go out there and pull up trees. We're not going to go on. I don't think we're going to sort of challenge for the league or anything like that. But it gives us a sort of a better stance and a better style of football. And with having these guys in, it will then help the players, because we have got some great players at Manchester United. People forgetting, but it's about the coaching, whether or not we can then get the best out of them as well. Pat?
Yeah, no, just some excellent points there, and I'm really enjoying this. I'm actually sitting back here like I'm in the comments just enjoying it. I just want to touch on what Phil was saying there. It's a very good point, and it gets us really excited as United fans, because when we hear these little things like about Ten Hag being the people's person in the stadium, following the same traits as Alex Ferguson, impressing Alex Ferguson, it's all music to my ears. And it is excellent. And what excites me the most is, just touching on exactly what Phil said again, there's players in this squad that I have no idea who are going to come good and who are probably going to be sold off because of the system and the style that Eric's going to bring to the system. Like we saw Donny van de Beek last year, and it didn't work for him under Solskjaer. It didn't work for him under Rangnick. Donny van de Beek could be the best player we could have next year for all we know. We really don't know what way this is going to work out. So it is really exciting for how it's going to pan out. And I can't wait to see who's going to be the best and who's going to be the worst and who is going to be wrong and who is going to be right.
Give us a system and a style of play, and I'll take that all day long. No matter what happened with Ten Hag. Whatever Ten Hag does, I'm with him all the way. I don't care. I do not care. Anything on that, Phil?
I mean, not much. One of the things we were talking about is the sensibility with United signings and not signing, players for commercial appeal. If you look at United's commercial revenue over the last 4 years, it hasn't increased. The share price, we know, is really low. And I know some of that, of course, the SAP and everything else is down significantly since the first quarter of the year. But the previous 10 years were the best years of US stocks in history in terms of growth. United share price never experienced that. So whilst it may not be true that the share price is indicative of everything, it certainly is indicative of something. And I think when you look at United's main revenue streams, there's a couple of main revenue streams really in a football club. Television, of course, sponsorship, commercial revenue. United are standing still here, right? So, and then you're hearing Richard Arnold say the club needs investment. I don't know how you can turn around and say the club needs investment and square the circle with owners taking money out. One wasn't mean the other. How can you do that? If the club needs investment, why are you taking money out, right? So, so I honestly feel, like I said, that Manchester United are in a position where they have no other choice but to get it right. They're going to copy Liverpool's model, obviously. And I think one thing we get with Dutch, if you even go back to Van Gaal, when he said he was the best coach he ever worked with. Steve McLaren, there's a difference between being a coach and a manager. Good coaches are not always good managers and vice versa. I think Ten Hag, McLaren will all bring a certain organisation, style of play to Manchester United. They'll improve everything that they have there. I have no doubt about that. I think these are, if you traditionally look at United signings, even if you look at the top 20 signings in world football, all which are 100 million plus or close thereof, 2 or 3 of them actually worked out, the rest didn't. I think not having a huge price tag helps because it's not going to be constantly. It's really only reference when you don't play well, but I still think it also helps.
Yeah.
And I think so. I'm actually really encouraged by what I'm seeing, even though some of it is a result of United having no other choice but to be this way.
When we had Louis van Gaal on board as our manager, obviously he wasn't getting the same football backings that Erik ten Hag would be now getting. So sometimes I do think, could Louis van Gaal done better if he'd gotten the backings that he deserved? I'm not saying he didn't get signings that he asked for, because I looked at his signings and he got Daley Blind, he got Schneiderlin, he got Memphis Depay, he got Di Maria, he got Falcao. But when I looked at the signings, not all of them looked like they were Louis van Gaal signings. Well, I looked at Ramadal Falcao, and he was probably, I think his stats at the time, he was one of the best finishers for heading the ball. I don't think we crossed the ball once for the fella when we arrived at the club.
Look,
So,
I've spoken to Franz Hoek about this, who came with Van Gaal to United, and Falcao just wasn't fit. I mean, United took a gamble on him. He just couldn't get him fit enough, and he went to Chelsea, and it was the same thing. I understood why United did it. Remember, at the time, there was a question mark about whether you keep Falcao or whether you get Falcao or keep Danny Welbeck. Despite it not working out, I can totally understand why they did it. I think one of the things that really hurt Van Gaal was how did he took over in his first season, because Ten Hag's going to get a pre-season, something Ranić never got. He's also going to get players, his own players. Van Gaal got those way too late. And then trying to start a pre-season in essentially late July after your players have just had a World Cup, he never really recovered from that. I think it was also a team in massive transition with Rooney and lots of other players leaving. If you listen to people at Bayern, how Van Gaal coached at Bayern, the guy is a genius. He's a genius football coach, right? But when we started this conversation saying you need to get players that fit a certain system, that fit a manager, and it never really committed to that. Sacked him in the most disgraceful way, in my opinion, immediately after winning an FA Cup. Wanted Mourinho because Mourinho's the type of guy at that time where you sacrifice your principles for success. The problem is if he doesn't bring success, the juice isn't worth the squeeze with Mourinho. Right? And it would be fair to say time has spoken for Mourinho, but it also spoke for everybody. It spoke for Van Gaal, it spoke for Solskjaer, it spoke for everybody, right? Because they all suffered the same problems. So maybe Van Gaal at a football at United now, where they would execute entirely. Back in 2014, there was a lot of money at the football club. They got rid of David Moyes. Van Gaal was Woodward's first pick as a manager. So he was enthusiastic about getting behind him and trying to learn from the mistakes of the year before when they chased Cesc Fabregas. We made a fool out of over Cesc Fabregas. Fabregas said he would join United if he wasn't picked in the first game for Barcelona. He was picked in the first game and they were left standing there. Well, what do we do now? It was just an aptitude beyond belief. So I think just the wrong time for Van Gaal.
What it felt to me, Phil, was that if we were to compare Van Gaal to Erik ten Hag, now obviously I'm looking at the crystal ball for the season coming forward, but it feels like they tried to give Van Gaal what they're going to give Erik ten Hag, but they kept panicking during the season and reining them back in and not giving them everything he wanted, not letting them have all the support he wanted. And then obviously what you said at the end, which was the most shocking, they sacked him after the FA Cup, which was an absolute disgrace. That was one of the darkest days to see that fella get let go. He didn't deserve it. The football wasn't great, but he didn't deserve that.
I think this has also been a problem that people need to understand. When people keep hearing this guy wants to leave, that guy wants to leave, good riddance, people need to ask why. Right? People need to ask why is the atmosphere so appalling at Manchester United? Because clearly some players have good reason to feel the way they do. For example, I know of a particular player, I won't name him, I spoke to him about 2 weeks ago, was only told a week ago that he was having his contract renewed, it was ending at the end of the season. He's a younger player, but how it was communicated to him, if you go back even to the likes of Patrice Evra, who complained that he had in his last season, and I hate to say this, but this is other people that are at the football club and the way they've handled contract renewals, and I'll get to Pogba because I think that was also a factor too. Patrice Evra said he hadn't told United he wanted to leave, then found out in the post that they had exercised the last year of his contract and made him stay. Did exactly the same with Pogba. Pogba wanted a new contract, wanted a raise essentially, which was what he was talking about when he said they offered nothing. United extended his contract by a year, 1920 season, I believe it was, and he wasn't happy about it. And so I think the way they've done business in the past has been really poor, and how they've treated people has been really poor. And one of the problems with this, lads, is I speak to people at the football club, employees and what have you, some of them long-term employees. You cannot keep a tight ship that doesn't leak when you treat people bad, because they will eventually talk bad about their employer, and there's lots of resources for that. I mean, we only need to look at the Rebecca Vardy thing to see how easy leaks happen. They're impossible to stop in the motivation behind them. And when you motivate people to leak, which is exactly what you do when you treat every player as an individual, someone who we're going to monetize your image rights to death, it's impossible to get a collective atmosphere inside a dressing room that says, I will, I will take one for the team from my colleagues, because as soon as something bad happens, the PR team kicks into gear and starts leaking stuff about that my client's fault, his fault, his fault, his fault. And this goes through the dressing room, and of course they all end up hating each other. You can't have a football or any business like that where it requires team, it requires individual sacrifice. So to me, I think United's incentive structure also has to change internally to make sure this never happens again.
Oh, thank you. Anything to add to that on Monday before we move to the comments?
Yeah, I like to talk about Louis van Gaal. I think I was going to ask Phil again about. There's a lot of fans, they were booing a lot of the time with Louis van Gaal. And like he said, he didn't have the opportunity to have a pre-season, and he tried to implement his philosophy, which he kept calling, which is a great style of football, which could have benefited us in long term. But short term, the fans weren't having it, because we've gone from a Fergie style attack, maybe thing, to slowing down the game and having more width and more control. And the fans didn't like it, especially at the home games as well. So with the parallels between that and another Dutch manager who's also got a new philosophy, which is going to completely change, it's going to be like day and night compared to what we've seen before. What would you advise the fans to be? I'm saying I'm going to read the book, I'm going to learn about the style, be a bit more educated with the football. What would you say to the fans of Man United right now and about patience?
Well, I think there has to be realism about what United are. And United are not buying their way back to the top. It's going to be incremental. And I think you have to have realistic expectations here. Eric Ten Hag's not going to win the league next season, right? But if he answers a lot of questions that's being asked, I think if United have a coherent style of play where when Solskjaer came in, I knew the first person who was going to be sacrificed was Lukaku, because simply he was just not suited to the way United wanted to play their front three. It was obvious. I think we will see a coherent style of play from Ten Hag, and I think it's going to take him a bit of time to get through the players that he has right now that aren't suited to playing this way. This is the part where United can't lose interest. So United do things in a weird way. So I think cruising altitude for the Glazers from Manchester United is in second, right? Because that's just good enough to be acceptable to the fans and not bad enough for protests. Just good enough to be acceptable to sponsors, not bad enough for protests. But do they really want to win the league? Are they really trying to do that? I don't think so. It's going to require City and Liverpool declining for United to catch them. So it's very, very hard to do what Liverpool have done, because it requires everyone at the football club, and I've seen United doing this summer. Jurgen Klopp has complete authority over every transfer that comes in. Right? The transfer committee that we once talked about, no one's even mentioned it again. The Liverpool, it's gone, right? And you can see United are trying to do that with Ten Hag. And when you do that with Klopp, you get signings that aren't glamorous. You get an Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, you get James Milner, you get a Tsimikas. United fans will not like that, right? Because they want glamour. But that's what's coming, right? And that's what needs to happen. Like, this is a football club. This is not, Love Island. This is not FC Hollywood. This has to be run properly. It's not alchemy to put a good football team together that competes if you really want to do it, especially if you have resources, and running has pointed this out. So I think for United fans, they have to be patient and realize that progress isn't always linear. Sometimes it goes backwards to go forwards. And I think if we're competitive in big games next season, we win big games. If United win a trophy, I think that's success. If they finish in the top four, I think that's success. I would say that's progress, ultimately towards where United need to go.
Thank you. Guys, I just realized something. There's 129 in the chat. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. I haven't been pressing the comments. Apologies, guys. Omondi, would you mind going through some of these, please, for us? Guys, there's so many comments in here, so we will try our best to get through as many as we can.
Okay. It's going to be difficult because there's loads of people commenting. I will try and get through the ones I've highlighted. Hi to Paddy. How you doing? Carl McConnor. Big up, man. Hopefully see you later tonight. Possibly GMSLTD. How you doing? Sonny. How you doing? Good evening. He says. Emma K. Dismob. All these people. Now let's get some comments here. Richard Herbert as well. How you doing? So let's get some comments about the subjects that we've been discussing here. Phil, what's the latest on Eriksen? You hear anything? That's from Golf.
Look, United have made him a very, very good offer. Obviously, he feels a sense of loyalty to Thomas Frank because Thomas Frank was the first person to give him an opportunity back in professional football. He's a fellow Dane. But I would be surprised if Eriksen turned down United for Brentford. And if he did, I think that would say a lot about Christian Eriksen. I understand Manchester United haven't been great. I understand all that. But if you have a choice between Brentford and Manchester United and you choose Brentford, that requires explaining why. Especially under, if you turn down the opportunity to play with Ronaldo, you turn down the opportunity to play with Bruno Fernandes, you turn down the opportunity to be part of something. Because the thing about United is the pendulum swings heavy both ways. When it's going bad, the criticism is cacophony. It's insane. But when it goes good, the opposite happens too. And so for me, Eriksen can establish himself as one of the top players again at Manchester United in the world. He can't do that at Brentford, right? And so to me, I can't understand why Christian Eriksen would choose Brentford over Manchester United. I would be surprised at that. You know what I mean? A good offer, so it's up to him.
Totally agree with you there. Paddy said, I'm excited about the transfer, talking about young Tyrell. He reminds me of young Patrice Evra, and he will replace our substandard left backs at the moment. He's saying, a bit of a shocking comment here from GMS. He's saying, is Jong really a marquee signing? I think he's bang average, he says. Arthur is saying, love me some Phil. Phil, you're getting lots of love in here. Rushmano saying, Glazer has no other options. They have exhausted the commercial side and they have to run the club properly from now on. I want to say hi to Bill Badger in the house. Bill Badger, one of our favorites. Hi to Rod Norman. He's also bigging you up, Phil. Phil is one of the best. We agree. We totally agree. Bruno saying, hi, lads. Good chat. Question. If we get 2 times midfielders and a defender that we are currently looking at, how do we afford any more players? And what other positions do we look at after them? He's asking. Cheers. We'll come back to that one. Ulmi is saying question as well. So many questions here. Phil, it feels like rightly so as the recruitment team at United have been sidelined this summer. The usual names touted around have been put aside, and Erik ten Hag has largely put names forward. Is this the case? We'll come back to that. Try and remember these. Cosman saying bye-bye to the burger show. I think that's Luke Shaw he's referring to. I want to say hi to Emma as well. How you doing, Emma? She said decent players make a good team if they're set up right. So when we were discussing earlier about marquee signings, how important that is, she doesn't think so. I totally agree. Big Mike is saying any news on the Frank de Jong deal? He's getting desperate, excited about that one. Yeshua, all the way from Ghana, he's excited about Tyrell as well. I want to say hi to Mr. Silver Fox, Arsenal fan. Congratulations on your 1-year anniversary. You had a great show yesterday. Go check that out, guys. Got Rana Beer. He says, question for Phil. Phil, you get enough questions here. You're going to have to log these for later. He says, I'm playing PT. Okay, something you can read that. Organized culture. He loves you. Okay. Jazzy saying, all my best, Phil. Phil, enough love for you. Lakiko is saying, come what may, these coaches will get the best out of the squad and the team will play attractive football compared to the old era. So we've got Callum McConnell saying, 115 watching, press the like and subscribe. Bigging us up, thank you. Ishamal is saying thanks to all my Man United board for signing Malacia. I'm getting the name wrong now because you spelled it wrong. Tyrell, let's call it Tyrell. But he's excited. I am too. Well done. Emma's just reminded us that Malacia has a Twitter page, and he's definitely coming, so that's confirmed. On Van Gaal here, there's a interesting thing again from GMS. He said Van Gaal's football was really depressing. That's an interesting one. Bruno was saying we have been ran as a bank, Phil. Hopefully we'll be ran as a football club now with more buffers between owners and the team. And we're going to go with Brush here because Brush is one of our favourites. He's referring to Emma here. He says, Emma, I'm from the last generation and still remember dial-ups, flashbacks to my mum yelling to get off the net so she can use the phone. Okay. And there's a lot of other people like Vincent, how you doing as well? And there's so many more in the comments.
Sorry, we got to do this one as well. Big up, Rebel.
Rebel, how you doing? Shame you're not here, but Rebel's saying we finally got a here we go. Let's go, Ten Hag. Let's hope Ten Hag is given the backing and time needed to fix the club and the fans accept workhorse players. And GMS Ltd Limited 179. Thank you very much. Phil, any news on Martial? Phil, you had a lot of questions and a lot of love.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to tackle any of those.
I mean, well, Martial. I mean, I haven't asked about Martial in a few weeks, but last time I did, there was nothing. I mean, I think United would definitely look at that, but I think they're got the same problem as they have with Bailly. And this is the problem with a number of United players that want to leave, is clubs want to take them on loan first to get a try before the buy. And Martial's just had that, and it's been a catastrophe. Now, what I would say in Martial's defence is 25. United signed Cantona at 26. I'm not saying they're the same player, but I'm comparing their situations. Right, Cantona had a number of clubs. It looked like the last place he wanted to be on was on a football pitch. Completely reinvigorated his career, the right football club for him. I think the questions are more for Anthony Martial than for Manchester United, because he looks like a player that doesn't want to be there. He looks like a player with the weight of the world on his shoulders, a bit like Harry Maguire in a sense, in that I could see why he wanted to go to Sevilla. So I think for Anthony Martial, the problem is he's on enormous amounts of money that isn't consistent with his on the pitch contribution. So wherever he goes, they're going to have to partially cover his wages and send him on loan again. One of the things that Ten Hag's going to have to do is significantly improve what he has and get the best out of him. If you can get the best out of Anthony Martial, especially with the loss of Mason Greenwood, then he's worth keeping. But that's the big if. And so he's clearly a quality player, and someone could hit the jackpot with him and get him and have him focused and completely on his game. And because we know he has that talent. That's not the question. The question is, does he really want this? And I think only he has that answer. So for Anthony Martial, it would certainly be interested in letting him move on. But again, you're not getting a lot of money for him. It would be a loan with the potential option to buy.
I see this one as well from Column, and I saw reports earlier linking Bailly with a move to Fulham. I don't know anything about it, but that's the report.
Well, look, United want to sell Bailly, right? Some of the things that happened last season with Bailly and Rangnick, I'm not going to talk about on here, but it's been obvious they've wanted to move him on for a while. But the same problem is that they want to sell him. And it's a bit of a strange one with me with Bailly, because Bailly and Martial is similar in the sense that they have unquestionable talent. I don't know everything, because I want to be fair to Eric Bailly. Maybe there's reasons for certain behaviours. I don't know. And potentially same with Martial. It's not, like I said, there's lots of players that want to leave this football club for reasons that lots of fans don't know about. So I think it's fair to be balanced in that. When you're criticising these players, I think it's also fair to say that when you have a really toxic working environment, it affects everything in your life. It affects how you live at home. It affects everything. And money is not the only metric. You have empathy for human beings. So to me, I understand why they want to leave. They're trying to fix some of those problems, obviously. And so to me, with Bailly, I think he needs a move. I don't see any way back for him at Manchester United. And, they've been offering him around for a while. So I would be amazed if he doesn't leave this summer.
Wow. Okay. Guys, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you're not new to the channel, you know what to do. Just hit the like button. 104 people in the chat. So we will be moving on to the next topic of, I think we actually hit the topic already, to be fair. And it's going to be Eriksen. Rumor is United looking to offer Eriksen a 2-year deal. I'm going to start with you first, Phil, because you basically said something regarding it's going to be down to Eriksen whether or not he wants to come to Manchester United or whether or not he will stay at Brentford.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. I mean, these are only two realistic choices at this point. Spurs aren't interested in him right now. From the last thing I had heard about it, I spoke to people about this just over a week ago, was asking about this, and their words to me was exactly what I said. He's been made an exceptional offer that we feel will be good enough to get him here. I think United expect that deal to go through. I think for Eriksen, in terms of his replacing Pogba, it makes sense for United in the sense they lost Pogba in a free transfer. Probably never should have allowed to happen. But Eriksen would be of similar quality to Pogba, and would obviously be replaced on a free. I think that when I talk about De Jong, people are, what's going on with De Jong? De Jong's on holiday, obviously, in America, and he's about to get proposed and everything. So he's got, even if he did agree the fee today, he's not coming today. He's not doing a medical today. Now he's supposed to get back next week. So I think you have a couple of deals in place. Eriksen, I haven't heard anything in a few days on, but again, there's really not much more I can say on it other than the fact that I know that he was made a really, really good offer. And obviously have the capacity to do that, and I think that they're pretty confident they'll get him.
Oh wow! Let's go to Pat. Pat, Man United. Eriksen choosing between Manchester United and Brentford. He's at the moment on Brentford. I believe rumors to be about 120k a week, and Manchester United is looking to offer him about, I think it's 150k a week.
I think 150k is a fair amount. I think he's been on that amount before, when he was with Inter or Tottenham Hotspurs. Like, what I think about Christian Eriksen is it's the same thing that reminds me of every time. I remember, I think it was 2013 when he was at Ajax, and I think it was around the same time that Kevin Strootman was available as well. And we were heavily linked to the two of them, but we obviously never got either one of them. And in that fantastic transfer year, we got the likes of Maro and Fellaini. We got Varela. Now we got Wilfried Zaha. He was another fantastic one. The only one we got good out that year was Juan Mata, and even that poor chap never got played properly for us, even though we all love him. If you actually go and look at this fella up and check out his stats, there's not a lot of weaknesses this fella actually has. This is how good this player is, and how he stayed at Tottenham all these years and only went to Inter is beyond me. Like, the ball control, attacking movement, finishing, vision, stamina. Like, why haven't we gone for this fella years ago? And the fact that this deal is dragging on, I hope it's because he's making his decision and there's no other aspect of it. That's all. Because, as Phil said, we lost Pogba. He's the perfect replacement. And it would soften the blow of losing Pogba and that kind of footballer just slotting straight back in.
Eriksen will know what he's doing. Like, he will have already made his mind up. But we have to realize a lot of these players are on holiday, and so they're not cutting a holiday short. They'll have given verbal agreements. They'll have told football clubs what they're doing. So I would be amazed if Eriksen hasn't made his mind up. If we look at the UEFA Nations League, what was it, 2 weeks ago? The amount of games these guys have played is absolutely ridiculous, right? And so they need long holidays. They need to be left on. And so to me, I think United will know what Christian Eriksen is doing, and so will he.
Yeah. Anything to add with that, Monday?
Yeah, I think Eriksen, like you're saying, we can't rush. There's this impatience now. Oh, need to get the transfers done now. But like you say, these guys need a rest, and they probably made a decision already. Hopefully the decision is yes, he will come to Manchester United. I think it would be a great asset to Man United, simply for the reason, like you said, he used to be at Ajax. He knows the style of football. He's plays the total football. He can play several positions. He retains the ball. He's got great technique. He's got great vision. He can play penetration passes, that kind of thing. He drifts around the pitch. He just strolls, doesn't he? He plays at his own pace. I remember, I've said this all the time, but Dennis Bergkamp, who is a great player, you have to see in the early 90s, really know how good he is. But he said when he was a coach at Ajax, he said, this is the best player I've ever seen at this age group. 2-footed, he could do everything, you know. So I think Eriksen is a class player, class act. And even if he does come late, and you might think, oh, he needs to be incorporated to the side. No, he doesn't, because he knows he can walk in with no preseason and stroll around the pitch and still know exactly what he's supposed to do and where he's supposed to be and where he's supposed to be positioned and how to play in this sort of system with that manager. So I'm all for it. I think it's a great signing, not just because he's free. I'm not about saving money. It's a great signing because he's key. He give you a bit more experience and give more balance. And when you've got players like Frankie de Jong and Donny van der Beek all throughout the spine of this team, it will be a lot easier for the players to pick up what they're supposed to be learning and where they're supposed to be positioned.
I think this fellow would bring an element of class, wouldn't he, lads?
Yeah, 100% would. As I said, for me, it's a difficult one, and not a lot of people will agree with me. But the way I look at it is, Eriksen would be a great addition to the squad. I would have probably tried and keep Juan Mata for another year. That's my opinion, though.
I think the only thing that would put Eriksen off United is he's going to want to make sure he starts enough games. Denmark are in the World Cup in Qatar. He's going to want to make sure he plays between now and November. And I think that may be the only, it's the only issue I could see what would prevent him from going from Brentford to Manchester United. I mean, you need only look at his own manager and little Brentford against Manchester United, the mighty Manchester United. That would give you an idea of how Brentford compare themselves to United. Look, I would imagine that would be, and I think this is a bigger issue than what people, this is of course what really put paid to the Timber team. Players need to be playing, and so I think it's also telling lads that United more or less done that with Malacia on the same day or the day before that Barcelona heavily got involved in the Rafinha deal. So where were Barcelona getting the confidence from that they have that type of money? And were Manchester United starting to move on other deals now? Would tell me that they probably have a deal in place for De Jong. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that's my guess.
Don't get excited. Don't get excited.
I saw a report though that stated that. Yeah, exactly. I read something. I don't know where I saw it, but they were saying that Ten Hag main deal, the two deals he desperately wanted to get over the line, was the De Jong and the Eriksen deal. I don't know how true that is, but that's according to reports as well.
The De Jong deal now has become more about just signing a player. It's become symbolic because you can't hire Ten Hag and then go back to him and say, hey, that one player you needed that was vital to how you were going to be successful here, we're not going to get it. And we're not going to get him because of a 10 million difference. I mean, United just aren't in a position to do that. There's also no alternative. They say, if you talk to United, they'll tell you they have alternates lined up. Who? If the De Jong deal collapsed today, who would be the obvious replacement? And at this point, we're getting into a point where if this drags on another 2 weeks, the advantage then turns to the selling club because they'll start to sense desperation from the buying club. And so, United are under pressure to get that deal done because it's almost symbolic. And I think it's the one deal more than any other they have to do this summer.
Yep. OMONDI, anything on it?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is a crucial signing for us because it will help us the way we play our football. People think Frankie de Jong. I've been talking to a lot of fans, as you do, about Frankie de Jong, and I don't think people really realise what sort of player we're getting because I think people are fixated with, is he a CDM? Is he a number 8? Is he a number 6? But they don't realise this player is a bit of everything. He's like I know I'm boasting up, but to me, he can do it anywhere, any area of the pitch. He can affect the game. And this is what it does. If he's playing as a 6, He can come deep, pick up the ball from defense. He can be press resistant. He can break the line. Anyone pressing him, he can dribble around you. He can play a triangle around you. He can play, and then if he's playing as an 8 high up the pitch, you know, he just drifts all over. He plays at 8 high at the pitch. He affects the way we play. He bring the forwards into play, give them better service. He's just a great player to play around, and I think it'll be infectious the way he plays with the other players around him. You might see cameos from Fred like he did last season, Errol, when Fred was doing some really wonderful things, you know. But I think he will enhance the whole team, and this is how Erik ten Hag got success out of Ajax. Getting to the semi-final is with having Donny van der Beek and Frankie de Jong as 2 6s, and then had a playmaker ahead of them. That's how they were successful, and that's how they dominated games as well. So I'm all for technical players. I'm all for ball players on the pitch and keeping hold of the ball and dominating games. Something we haven't done for a long time. It will ease the pressure on the defense, and it will make us more comfortable. And the fans will be sitting there, kicking back and saying, "This is wonderful to watch."
Yeah.
You know, just one other thing on that, lads. If you look at United's window, let's say that their moves come off. You know, Lisandro Martinez is a left-footed centre-back, right? Frankie de Jong, a ball-playing defensive midfielder. A winger. This is essentially the target list of Solskjaer 2 years ago when they wanted Sancho, right? And they looked at signing Thiago for the same reason. This is exactly why United must execute on what Ten Hag wants. These are things that have been on the table for a long time. Solskjaer wanted a left-footed centre-back. They can get one. So Lisandro Martinez is a left-footed centre-back. You know, when the first year they went for Sancho, of course. Now they're going for another winger. He looked at Thiago for exactly the same reason. We need Frankie de Jong now because they need someone from transitions from the defence out into midfield, which United are appalling at. I also feel that de Jong will really help United centre-backs, whether that's Maguire, whoever else plays there beside Lisandro Martinez, because I think it gives them some bit of protection, but also gives them the ability to play from the back, which when we're talking about playing style with Ten Hag, that's going to be really, really important.
Well, that's me and OMONDI spoke about this a while ago because we were speaking about Harry Maguire, and it would be like the hole that had been in the back of that pitch, sorry, the back of that team when we got cut up last season was, where is everybody? Where's the players?
Yeah.
We need people with the intelligence who are going to slot back into these positions. And from everything that I've seen from watching Frankie de Jong, speaking to OMONDI, this fella is the real deal. But the problem with most Manchester United fans, we just want to see the next Kylian Mbappe getting signed for Man United. It's never about the football. It's always about the flair. And this guy is the real deal.
I think with that as well, for me as a United fan, I think we've got to strip down everything that we're doing. And I think Phil said it earlier, and not to look at marquee signings, but to look at actual signings that we can grow as a football club with the correct coaching, to get sort of, you know, Ronaldo. Not a lot of people who knew who Ronaldo was, to be fair. Not a lot of people who know who Patrice Evra was. Vidic, no one really should know who these players was. And we brought them in and they became legend of the club. So I think, as I said, I keep saying, and I will keep repeating, whatever Ten Hag does, let Ten Hag do it, because he's a good coach and he can coach and make some of these youngsters and players that not really known world-class talent.
Can I just add to that quickly? So Ronny Johnson is another player. There's a lot of Scandinavians in the 90s coming into the game who really sort of stepped up. Henning Berg, all these guys, even though he's at Blackburn. But I'm just going to go to Sebastian Haller, is it, the guy, striker from Ajax? We did know him, and we rejected him in the Premiership, in our little Premiership bubble. So he's not good enough. But with the service he was getting in the 6-yard box from Ajax, that Ajax team, he looks $1 million, you know, and he's now getting sold to Borussia Dortmund. So who knows whether it will work for him? It's about the system. If the system's good for him and they use him correctly and they feed him correctly, then he will score goals there too. But if you put Ronaldo in that position, the 6-yard box, and keep feeding him that sort of service, then we're going to see a bundle of goals as well. So I think it's all about the system. That's what we got. That's why we got a great head coach. He's the best transfer that we've had in years. And we're about to find out with our pre-season tour coming up very soon. And
looking at the first 2 players Erik ten Hag bought under his reign at Ajax, the first 2 people he bought that I know of was Tadic, Daley Blind, and they completely transformed the team because he played to his style, and they knew what Ten Hag wanted, and we couldn't get a tune out of Daley Blind at United. Fans always slating him, left back, centre midfield, even though I really did appreciate him. I thought he was a great player, but we didn't utilize him to what he was.
I think in his defence, lads, this is a really good point, because this really illustrates the biggest problem United have, is that players, it's easy to look bad in United's team if you're bought for a system that's not being fully implemented. United didn't have the technical players to pull off what Van Gaal was trying to do, which is why it was so slow. They couldn't add tempo into their game because none of those players were Fergie's players, essentially. And as the Premier League was changing, under different managers that were coming in that were playing much higher intensity, that the quality of the other teams were improving, it's easy to look bad in that team. This is why we often see United players who are poor go to other teams who they're suited to play in their other systems do well. I think Lukaku's a perfect example of that. If you play him in the right system, you get 25 goals a season out of him. If you don't, he will look terrible. And so I think there's a number of players like that. We started talking about, you were saying this part about Van de Beek. We could be looking at, who knows? To me, if you get a chance at Manchester United, you don't get 2 years to carve out a career. You have to take it at some point. And so to me, I think he's very lucky to be still getting a chance. You look at Rashford. Rashford gets a chance at 17, scores 2 goals on his debut. You get a chance to play for Manchester United. It's never perfect. You take it when you can get it. And if he doesn't thrive under Ten Hag, he needs to leave in January, right? And be done with this. I don't think it was a well thought out transfer, if I'm honest. There's a lot being made of United not signing their first player in June. Who cares? This is an irrelevant stat. I don't care why they sign players in June. I just want to make sure that Ten Hag, by the start of pre-season, even if he doesn't have players signed by the bottom line, United have deals in place where he knows exactly what they're going to do. Hopefully, United, by the time they go on pre-season tour, July 8th, I think it is, they have Jong done.
Wow, thank you. And guys, there's 104 in the chat. Remember, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We actually got some quotes up, but before, I'm not even going to go there. I know we haven't really and truly done a lot of the quotes. Armando, should we go through some of the quotes so people know where we're getting the information from?
The Nacho, maybe. All right, let's see. Have a look here.
Let's do the
Christian Eriksen. Just move the banner quickly so I can read the whole thing. So Christian Eriksen, thank you. I'm
touching it. I'm touching nothing. I'm touching absolutely nothing.
Trigger finger. All right. Anyway, Christian Eriksen, Man United table offer a contract offer as a free agent. Man United have made a contract offer for Christian Eriksen. This is from the Mirror. United are stepping up their efforts to sign Eriksen. United have told Eriksen and his agent they were willing to sign the 30-year-old a 2-year deal for £150,000 a week. Eriksen said to be waiting to see who the Reds sign this summer before he makes a decision on his future. Danish international also has an offer from Brentford, while Tottenham, Everton, Newcastle, and Leicester are also said to be interested in Eriksen. So we've done everything, Eriksen. I think that's just a little additional information about him. Shall I go for the next one?
Yes, please.
So the next one is about the first person we spoke about here who seems to have signed already. It looks like it's all gone through, but Tyrell Malacia. I have to get used to saying that. So here we go. It says, Romano confirms Man United Tyrell Malacia deal. Man United have clinched the deal for Feyenoord's exciting fullback Tyrell Malacia. Transfer guru Fabrizio Romano tweeted the news this evening. This is a quote from him saying, Tyrell Malacia to Man United. Here we go. Romano tweeted. Agreement reached on personal terms, waiting to sign the contract soon for 15 million, as Phil said, plus 2 million for add-ons. Malacia will be the first signing of the Ten Hag era. That will be for quiz question in a couple of years' time. And he's hijacked the deal from Olympic Lyon, as revealed on Tuesday, now confirmed. So I know there's a lot of happy people in the comments, and we're happy too on the Man United agenda. First one over the line.
Thank you, as always.
Finally.
This is any other business, by the way.
Okay,
this is any other business. So let's explain this to Phil. Phil, this is a script that I don't know where it came from, but on Monday, love to have. After all the show, he goes on to another sort of section where anything that's trending throughout the day, he talks about. So we're going to ask you in a minute if you got any other business as well, because he always does this to everyone.
Well, you know what it is. I ain't no man with the information like Phil. I don't have access to sources like Phil. So I put my ear to the ground and I try and come up with something. And the main thing is I don't really have much. It's all been around. You'll be surprised. I don't have much today to really offer you guys.
Okay.
I'm so excited about the signing that I've been distracted and I've just been focused on the left back all day. So over to you, Pat. Any other business, mate?
Two things I'd like to talk about. We spoke about Yuri Tillemans last night, Phil, and that he's a quality little footballer. And there's a lot of smoke about him, but on concrete. And we just kind of want to know, is there any truth in himself? And another one is, but it's more of a dream by myself, it would be, is there any truth in Matthias de Ligt at the same time in the two of them? Because the centre-back area, I wasn't sure if Martinez he's the number one option. We're going for him and that's it. Or is there a possibility that the Ligt is on the cards? Because is he just going for a new contract? Is he flirting with Chelsea? Is he not flirting with United because he knows he's not going to get that second time around with United where he might get it with Chelsea? And he has no interest in leaving Juventus because Chiellini, how do you pronounce his name?
Chiellini.
Yeah,
Chiellini.
Yeah, he's left recently. So why would he leave now that he can become the main man? So just a few things rolling around in my head. Is there any truth in them? That's all.
Look, like I was saying earlier, they wanted left-footed centre-back, which Lisandro Martinez is. I think also it's a much easier deal to do because you've got a willing seller, and I think Lisandro Martinez wants to come to Manchester United. De Ligt would cost a lot more. And the one thing we have to realise is, and one of the reasons, of course, why United, and I also agree with this decision, we're willing to pay the money for Darwin Núñez. And you can see this, United have to stretch a budget across multiple different positions. They can't turn around and spend £100 million on Darwin Núñez and then try to sign 3 or 4 other players. It's just not going to happen. So to me, I think Lisandro Martinez is the obvious one for a couple of reasons. It's an easier deal to do. I think he suits what United are looking for. And I think price-wise, it just makes so much more sense. I would be surprised if De Ligt left and went to Chelsea.
Right, okay. I kind of felt that myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I always thought, like, even with the price tag of De Ligt, like it was a bit far-fetched. But Martinez,
maybe in another season where United had 1 or 2 needs. Like if Maguire was going to be moved on, maybe that's the deal where this is what United must do this summer. Is that next summer when next summer comes around, their needs can't be 4 or 5 positions. Because ultimately they're going to have to address the striker position next season.
Yeah.
And they need to be in a situation where they can spend a significant part of their budget on a striker and not have 4 or 5 other needs. So this is why these signings are going to be really, really important. If they come in and answer questions that we have, are you good enough for this league? Are you going to improve this football team? I look at those signings and I think would each of those signings improve this Manchester United team? Certainly Eriksen and Jong improves this Manchester United team. Anthony's, let's just talk about that for a second. Let's say that happens. First, United could have a front 3 of 3 Anthonys. Anthony Alanga.
Triple A, look at battery.
So Anthony Martial and so, I think if they come in and those are positions that they don't need to address next summer, then I would be much more confident that next summer they're going to sign a big striker, which they need to do. So to me, I think there's also some other question marks, like what are we going to do with Garnacho next season? Garnacho is going to need to play more next season. I have to find a place for him. So to me, I think United are still top heavy, and they still need to. They can't go in this season with all of those players at the football club. So Garnacho's down to the last year of his contract. I really want to see if he can get that contract extended. He's an exciting young player. And I think if you look at Ten Hag, if you're a young player at Manchester United, you should be very excited because the Dutch will give young players an opportunity. This is one of the reasons why I think he is suited to Manchester United because, as much as I loved Mourinho, and I don't think a lot of the failures were his fault, I just didn't think he was suited to Manchester United and what Manchester United should be.
I understand.
Right. And Monday now, your last final part. Where's the little thing? That's you. Let's move Emma K. Emma K, we'll come back to you.
So Phil was just talking about Garnacho as well, and I think he turned 18 recently, didn't he? The last couple of days. So this is a great time to sign him on a long-term contract. Garnacho saying sky's the limit for Manchester United starlet Garnacho. If you're paying attention to youth teams last season, which you probably were because you won the Youth Cup final, you will know the sky's the limit for Garnacho, formerly of Atletico Madrid, who is raising his stake in the modern game as one of the world's most exciting teenagers. I repeat, one of the world's most exciting teenagers. It's been a whirlwind few months for the 17-year-old, now going to be 18. Former Liverpool midfielder and coach at international level, Mascherano, what a great player he was, said can see a great future and a bright future for Garnacho. Garnacho, he says, is a great player with a lot of potential for growing. Excuse me. Thank you. Trigger finger again. By playing in the club he plays for. And above all importance, his club gives him for the future. It's up to him now to show what he's capable of. So obviously he was in the senior squad for Argentina as well and trained with them, which is a big endorsement for his talent.
Personally, I'd like to see United extend his contract and loan him out and see him for a year playing week in, week out for someone. I think like the gap between under 23 football and the Premier League is absolutely massive. And there needs to be another layer, which is where the Championship has really benefited the likes of James Garner. You grow physically, you grow mentally. There's no question about it. Had James Garner stayed at Manchester United for the last 2 years, he wouldn't be the player that he is now. Chelsea have done a good job of utilising that loan system where one of two things happen. Either the player's good enough to come back and play for you, or you sell him and get decent money for him. They could easily sell James Garner right now for 25-30 million if they wanted. But had he have stayed at United, that wouldn't be the case. So I think for Garnacho, I would like to see the kid go out on loan, extend his contract, get him either a good Championship loan or a lower league Premier League loan. But it also has to be the right club, because if you look at Garner went to Swansea, it was a disaster. Then went to Forest and it worked. And you have to get the right club that's going to play the kid, that hasn't been part of their plans. It's not just someone that's going to make up the bench. But look, next season is going to be interesting because you have 5 subs, so big squad's going to be important. I actually think the Europa League might actually help United in some sense because they're not a Champions League team yet, and so that's an opportunity to bleed some young players that otherwise wouldn't be played. And I think also, like I said, with the 5 subs, but to be careful with having low squad numbers. I think young players will get plenty of football next season.
I'd like to just touch on something that Phil said, and it just came to me there. It's a very, very good point you're making there, Phil, right? So what I was thinking there was, where before, do you think there's going to be a different system now for loaning out the players, where before it was like, just get them out on loan and stick them out. Now there's going to be, Ten Hag's going to be saying, okay, you're putting Garnacho out on loan. What team do you put them out on, and what style of football are they going to be playing that's going to nurture his abilities? Because Ten Hag is going to want certain abilities of his nurtured, where he's going to progress and get better, and he's not going to put them into a team where they're going to play like a Burnley style football when he doesn't want them to be playing that kind of football. So do you think that's going to change now under Erik Ten Hag?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Luke, Palestri and Ahmad have not had good loans, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is definitely something United can do a better job of. But lads, I think there's also something to be taken into consideration here. These players have to go and earn the right to play. The bottom line is you need. I don't like 6-month loans, because 6-month loans to me are bench fillers to me. Also, I feel if you're doing a 6-month loan, most of the clubs that are doing 6-month loans are doing it to make you a squad player. Someone gets injured, they need to, you're not really fundamental to their plans, which is why I never really liked the Ahmad, loan to Rangers, because I never really felt that he was someone they really, really wanted to be a starter in the team. So I think you have to be really careful, because these formative years, 18 to 21, 22, are very, very important. And there's multiple stages in development. That stage of development has to happen, and then the next one is where they develop into a world-class player. If you look at Ronaldo, for example, I think he was 23 when he scored his first Champions League goal against Roma. And so that development that is very, very important, because you get a lot of inconsistency in that age. You have a lot of changes that are going on physically and mentally. If you're at the wrong club, it can completely finish your career. Because just to bring up a point, lads, on that, like if you go back to 1999 and when Ferguson was asked, why don't you play the youth team in the FA Cup, just one game in the third round, because there was obviously this argument of going to the World Club Cup in Brazil. And one of the things that he said is, we're in the business of building careers here and not ruining them. And this is why, I know towards the end of last season, everyone's like, just play the kids, just play the kids. But the problem is, if you put kids in too soon and ruin their confidence, it really sets them back. And it can be hard to fix that. This is why good loans are really important, for exactly the same reason. You have to play at the right time, play in the right team that complements their strengths. We've just sat here and talked about seasoned professionals. If they're not played in the right team that plays their strengths, you won't get the best out of them. Well, the same also applies to young kids. So I think you have to be much better about that.
You know, it's an interesting point there. I think that there is an issue, the gap, as you say in there, Phil, between youth football under 23s to stepping up, especially to a Premiership team, is massive.
Yes,
I like Brentford's method, what they do. They've got a B team. They play competitive football. Ajax, coming from Ajax, they have Ajax B team, don't they? Which play, obviously, they're playing the same style of football in a lower league, which helps them a lot. So I do think something has to be done. Either get a feeder club, like someone in the Championship or Division 1, maybe Ipswich, who took Kieran McKenna. Is it Kieran McKenna, the coach there now? Maybe play teams like that who could say, right, are you going to incorporate these guys? Are you going to play these guys? Because it's so important. It's like you're saying, the guy Laird was on loan at Swansea, doing fantastic, and someone decided to take him to Bournemouth. So, because they're doing well, and suddenly he wasn't getting games anymore. So it's really, whoever's making these decisions, I don't know who it is in the club, but that needs to improve, or the structure of football needs to improve, because a lot of these players don't develop. They get stagnant and sort of reach a plateau and don't get to develop. Ghana's a great example, but there's so many examples where players really, like you said, Ahmad, who's super talented in my opinion, hasn't hardly played any proper senior games for anybody. And even when he went to Rangers under a great Dutch guy, manager like that, I thought he'd do games, and then he's told he's too small or he's too soft or something like that. It's tough out there, isn't it? So I think it's the key. My brother, he works in development football as well. He finds it hard to keep players motivated. And I was going to disagree with you, what you said, that quote about Alex Ferguson playing his youth team in the FA Cup, that kind of thing. I say, well, what about Arsenal? Arsene Wenger used to do it all the time. But then...
Didn't Arsenal get knocked out by Forest in the FA Cup?
Say?
Didn't Arsenal get knocked out by Forest in the FA Cup?
Oh, no, this is years ago. Arsenal used to play... youth in the League Cup, in the League Cup they used to play.
Well, the League Cup definitely.
Get some good experience.
Usually playing against other teams that are doing the same thing, to be fair. But yes, I accept your point.
So it's about getting that balance, isn't it, to develop these players?
Yeah, I mean, look, lads, if we look at the League Cup, for example, if you get the League Cup draw against Chelsea or something like that, the lineup's changed, right? For obvious reasons. If you get drawn against, a lower league team or a lower Premier League team, you can have a decent mishmash of youngsters, but a lot of times they lost, right? They lost the championship teams. So, it's one thing rating a young player at under 23 level and then at the Premier League level. There's massive difference. And there's a lot we don't see in training and what have you. But look, if you look at City, City have multiple teams all over the world, right? They just bought Savio, and now they're loaning him out to one of their other football clubs. He's going to PSV, of course. United used to do this with Antwerp and other clubs where they would have feeder clubs, if you want to call them that, where they had arrangements. Of course, they also had this somewhat arrangement with Sporting Lisbon, which helped them get Ronaldo. And they had it with other clubs too. So I agree that it's probably a decent thing for United to do. But we also have to remember, lads, and this is where John Murray deserves some credit. It was only a couple of years ago, United's youth team were finished bottom. And so, I mean, who wants their players on them? So we're really only recently getting into a stage where United are once again competitive at that level and have the depth to loan those players out. And so if you were a good player at Manchester United that had first team potential from the youth team, you were in the first team squad because of the injuries and everything else. So I think it would be, but despite what we were saying earlier, to have affiliations with clubs cost money, and it's United, are not in a position to spend a lot of money right now on things that aren't a fundamental immediate necessity.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Monday, we're just going to go through some of these comments here. And this gentleman we have not seen for a very long time.
Wow, Medi's back. Says, hi, guys. I see the channel start to grow. First step towards YouTube stardom, surely. I like that. I like that.
Feet firmly on the ground.
QT, how you doing, man?
Big up.
I've seen some comments earlier from you, and I'm going to drop this one. It says, or loan Garnacho to the likes of Everton for Premiership confidence. That's a good thing there.
We've got
I
Frank.
just want to read this one out, especially because Frank is saying, Phil out here, educate everyone at United. Love to hear the man speak. Knows exactly what he's talking about. BTP podcast, always the best and a legend.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for all the love. I don't deserve it. It's embarrassing, but thank you.
Take it, man. Take it. It's too much there. Yeah, you have to take it, man. And Almighty Blues is in the house as well.
Big
Chelsea
up as
fan,
well.
all the way from India. Want to give you enough respect, man. He's one of our brothers. He's saying congratulations on the signing, guys. We're losing the transfer battle in the market as of now, but hope for Sterling, Aki, De Ligt. No, you don't. We don't want you to have De Ligt. And Delembe. This for the mighty Chelsea.
Almighty Blue, one of we would normally say, OMONDI always say one of my favorite, but he is one of our favorite Chelsea channel out there because he's the top guy. He's absolute legend out there. And then Jason there.
Oh, hi, Jason. Yeah, Jason saying, great show, boys. Roll on Ten Hag, Evra. Yeah, he's saying.
Cool. So, guys, 93 in the chat. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you're not new to the channel, you know what it's all about. Just hit this like button, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, just let everyone know there is a show in 12 minutes as well. It's called the Friday Night Takeaway. So make sure you tune in for that as well, guys. Not only that, but we have got a fantasy football league also that will be starting in a couple of weeks' time. So it's there. The code is there. So I'll leave it on the screen for a little bit longer than that. Also, we've got the watch along for the Liverpool Man United game. So that's a friendly in a couple of weeks. In next week, I believe it is, or the week after.
Is it Tuesday the 12th of July, is it?
12, yep. TalkMU will be doing that. I don't know who he's doing it with, but he's doing it. And yeah, that's it really. That's everything that's coming up in the next few weeks. Just keep an eye out. Remember, guys, we are live at 8:30 most nights. So make sure you set your reminder as well. Notification bell. And when we go live, you get the notification. So let's find out, guys. We are wrapping up now. So Phil, sir, first things first, let's get rid of this off the screen. I know, always, Phil, where can these guys find you? Make sure, guys, go hit that like, share, and subscribe button for Phil. I'm going to tell you where he's going to tell you where he is. Go on, Phil, just tell him.
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter, lads. Whoever's listening, much appreciated. At Malacians, MALACHIANS, all there. So appreciate all the love and support, all the lovely comments. Honestly, it means a lot to me. So thank you so much. And thank you for all your follows, likes, retweets, and thank you to the lads for having me on as always.
Always a pleasure having you on. Always a pleasure having you on.
Phil, top man.
Absolutely brilliant, Phil. We'll always have you on this channel. Always. Guys, I've got to put lots of apologies as well. If we didn't read out your comments, guys, there was so many in there, and it's trying to get through as many as possible. But as I said, join the takeaway if you can. That's going to be at 10 p.m. tonight. And it's going to be TalkMU hosting. Mr. B's away today, so TalkMU is taking the reign. Also, you've got SHAH United will be on it as well, and Column, if I say his name right, and also Thomas as well. Wow, it's going to be an epic show tonight. Good luck, good lineup tonight, guys. So make sure you go back there and tune in. But from us here, guys, thank you for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. I am Solo. OMONDI. Pat, I was just going to say Petty. I'm Petty for some reason there. Pat, and also big thanks to Phil for being on as always.
Thanks, lads. Have a great weekend, folks. Thanks, lads. Have a great weekend. Much love to all of you. Cheers, Pat. Monday. Have a great weekend, lads. See ya. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.